Loverboy. One word. Rock. Rock? Okay.
And Loverboy did rock through a decade of multi-platinum records and major arena tours. These five guys wrote the songs that spoke to the heart of a generation.
I think the lyrics kind of took on a bit of an inspirational tone. Just kind of happened that way. It's probably because we were excited and we were doing exciting things.
Seems like it was all very positive.
The new album is the same players playing the same instruments.
These days, the guys are back on the road and finishing up a new album due out later this year. Although Loverboy had a string of hits, sometimes it takes only one great song to put you on top. Like Survivor. Survivor started their career in the late 70s, but it wasn't until 1982 when they rose to the challenge and straight to the top of the charts with the help of the movie Rocky III and Eye of the Tiger.
We were actually editing the film, and I was there, and we were syncing the music, and with the movie, I got goosebumps, and I finally realized, yeah, this could be something that can really snowball and turn into something very good for the band.
It was good for the band. This underdog tribute became the group's only #1 hit. Despite that success, lead singer Dave Bickler left the band in 1984 and was replaced by Jim Jamison, who led Survivor on a successful journey of power ballads like High on You.
People were just connecting with what we were writing about. We wrote a lot about romance and love and, things that were going on with us as well.
But like many young bands, Survivor fell victim to the overproduced sound of the 80s, forcing them away from their original gritty sound.
I should be able to pick up an acoustic guitar, and if the song, if you liked it, then it would stand on its own. Well, by the time you got done with it, you had orchestras on it and keyboards, and one of those is enough. It got to be a bit too much, right from about 85 to 87 or 88.
Today, Survivor is back to their musical roots, hoping to be back on the charts with the return of original lead singer Dave Bickler.
We're going to keep going. We got a lot of new material, and we're going to get it out there. That's what we're going to do.
Someone who really put it out there was rocker Billy Squier. Turn back the clock to 1981 and you'll find Billy Squier at the beginning of a hugely successful decade. It started off with the release of Don't Say No, an album featuring classic songs like The Strokes, In the Dark, and My Kind of Lover. These displayed not only his talent for guitar-driven pop music, but also established him as a rocker for the 80s.
Everything came together in a way that it was definitely the record that I had been working for years to write. When that record was done, I knew that was me.
And fans agreed. Don't Say No held a place on the Billboard Top 10 album charts for over a year.
It was an exciting time for me because my career was peaking. It was on a rapid incline and continued through most of those years. So it was a heady time in that way.
Success continued for Squier with the album Emotions in Motion and its follow-up Signs of Life, his third consecutive platinum album by 1985.
Everybody wants it.
Squier continued making records into the 90s, but the business side of the recording industry had begun to take its toll.
I didn't write for about 3 years. I had a very acrimonious party with my record company, and they really soured me on the business to the point that I just said, I don't need this.
And while he may have turned his back on the business, Squier hasn't stopped making music. He's currently writing songs that he hopes will lead to a new album.
I believe I still do have a talent, and I have a vision, I have a perspective on things, and I want to explore that, and certainly music has been my most adept language to do that. Everybody tries sometimes. Everybody's got to cross to bear. I feel that I have the ability to give something through my music, and that's what I want to do, if I can. Life can treat you so unfair. Kiss you when you're not aware.
The Outfield, where are they now?
I don't want to lose your love tonight.
Up next, the Outfield talk about their first home run. And why is Greg Kihn still defending himself to the public?
People come up to me and they'll come up to me on the street and they'll go, "Hey, didn't you used to be Greg Kihn?" And yeah, I say, "Yeah, I was Greg Kihn at one time."
The 80s, then and now. Wait till you see who else we found.
The most memorable thing about the 80s? The music. VH1's 8 Days of 80s. All 80s, all week. This weekend, Fake 80s pop-up video, the premiere of Rick James Behind the Music and more. Only on VH1. Keeping you...
The VH1's Then and Now. A look at artists from the 80s. With a name like the Outfield, you know these guys were into baseball. And you would think they were American, not only by their name, but by their sound. Guess again. The Outfield, an English band known for their American sound, achieved 7 top 40 hits during the 80s with such memorable songs as Since You've Been Gone and Your Love.
We were around at the right time and the right place for the 80s. I think it was a good musical period for us.
The band hit it big with the release of their first album, Play Deep, which sold 3 million copies. But early success had its difficulties.
If you do achieve major success, which we did in the end, then all of a sudden there's this big machine that's rolling along and you're just, you're in the middle of it.
The Outfield was able to continue its winning streak, releasing 2 albums before losing drummer Alan Jackman, who left the band in 1989. The Outfield continued making music as a duo, achieving another big hit with For You, and releasing a greatest hits album, Big Innings.
We enjoyed it, we laughed our way through it, had a great time doing it, and if I died tomorrow, I had a great time,
One great thing about being in a band is that you get to meet some great musicians. In 1982, U2 were touring the States and introducing America to a new young band from Wales called The Alarm. Back in Britain, another new band called The Cult was making waves on the alternative scene. It would take 15 years before the driving forces of these 2 bands would come together.
The 80s for me was an age of awareness for me in the sense that I was coming out of a small town in Wales in 1981 and then blasted into the world through forming a band.
The Alarm's success was due in part to the fact that the 80s was the dawn of video.
People have tended to look back on the 80s and see the 80s as being a sort of, not so much a musical decade, but more than a decade of image and video expression as opposed to musical expression.
But after several years of successful albums and hit songs like 68 Guns and Rain in the Summertime, Peters chose to leave the group to shift his musical focus.
When I first left The Alarm, I was thinking, if I could find the right guitar player, it'd be amazing, and Billy Duffy would fit the bill, and then I met him, and it just all sort of happened quite naturally.
Billy Duffy's tenure as the Cult's lead guitarist made him a formidable force in the industry, and a little cynical.
In the 80s, to be totally honest with you, it was mostly terrible. Personally, I mean, that's why probably the Cult did so well, because there really weren't any decent rock and roll bands around. If I think back to when we had a hit with She So Sanctuary in 1985 in Britain, in the charts, the Eurythmics, Would You Lie to Me, was the only other track that actually had a guitar on it that I could even hear, and that was the only other song that I recall in that entire summer that wasn't, I Want to Be a Robot.
Getting back to their rock and roll roots, Peters and Duffy have begun a new collaboration.
It's 2 years since the Cult broke up, and I'm only just sort of really discovering who I am. I mean, I grew up in that band.
We started writing on some songs that we're excited about, and that's got the potential for a project that will be Billy Duffy and Mike Peters. I'm just glad I'm still here, sat in my recording studio making music after all this time.
Mike and Billy hit the US during the British New Wave invasion. But there were still bands that put out good old American rock and roll. Bands like ZZ Top, Tom Petty, and 38 Special.
The 80s was more power guitars in your face. We kind of made that point.
That power guitar and good old boy lyrics made 38 Special a mainstay of roots rock and roll music.
But now we've taken a more esoteric approach and a lot more dynamics in the music.
We still have it, you know. We just need the chance from folks like y'all to give us that chance, because we got the goods to throw a touchdown pass it, that's for sure. And actually now our philosophy is when we quit having fun, we will retire.
Far from retiring, Donnie and the band have just released a new CD called Resolution. From southern rock to California pop, Greg Kihn met up with early fame and fortune by singing about failure, but keeping a sense of humor.
People come up to me and they'll come up to me on the street and they'll go, "Hey, didn't you used to be Greg Kihn?" And I say, "Yeah, I was Greg Kihn at one time."
In 1981, the man who was and still is Greg Kihn became a household name when his Berkeley-based band scored their first top 20 hit with the breakup song. But his big success came 2 years later with the hit Jeopardy.
Steve Wright came over to my house and he started playing the chords and I just started singing off the top of my head. Our love's in jeopardy, baby. Ooh. And it was just like we just looked at each other and the song wrote itself.
The song was a big enough hit to be parodied by Weird Al Yankovic.
I lost on Jeopardy, baby.
We never really took it seriously. Yeah, we always had a little sense of humor, and you know, if a gig got screwed up, it got screwed up. It wasn't the end of the world, or if your record didn't chart, you know, you didn't tear your hair out. And I think that attitude got me through it.
It was his easygoing outlook that helped him get through the decade of decadence.
See, everybody in the 80s went to do now.
These days, Kihn continues to write songs, and some 10 years after his last hit, has found another creative outlet writing horror novels. His first book, Horror Show, was nominated for a Bram Stoker Award, and a second novel is due out later this year.
And I usually sit down and write a couple hours every day, and it's therapeutic for me. It keeps me out of trouble. I think in life, when you look back after years, you make money, you lose money, you're famous, you're not famous. The bottom line is, are you happy? And I think if you measure success, are you happy? Yes, I'm happy. So in that respect, I feel like I'm a success.
Coming up, modern English update their Burger King jingle.
I'll stop the world with you.
Hi, I'm Tommy Kihn from Tommy Tutone. This was me then. Find out what I'm doing now, next on VH1.
I'm John Taylor with VH1's Then and Now, a look at your favorite artists from the 80s. The decade produced some of the catchiest pop tunes. Tunes like Mickey, Jeopardy, Hungry Like the Wolf, Save a Prayer, Rio, Is There Something I Should Know, Notorious, A View to a Kill, and the one by this next artist, 8675309.
Things went crazy pretty fast for us.
And all it took was a phone number for Tommy Tutone and his band to dial up success.
Even now today, people can tell me where they were when they first heard the song, what they were doing. I never knew there were so many people named Jennifer in the country.
But despite having one of the catchiest tunes in 1982, the band broke up only a year later. In 1995, Tommy released his latest solo album, Nervous Love.
I think I tell a good story. I have a different way of looking at things than most people. So.
Keep on walking.
I've been writing and recording just constantly for the last 5 or 6 years. I've got 30 or 40 things that we're having a tough time to figure out which to put on next record. But it's the kind of problems I like to have.
Baby, don't you know it was so real?
Maintaining success was never a problem for the mega band Chicago. In the 1960s and 70s, Chicago was one of the most successful bands in American pop history. The 80s brought a whole new generation of fans, more Grammy nominations, and 12 chart-topping hits. And after 30 years of recording and touring, their music continues to inspire audiences.
We knew what we did was good and people liked listening to us. Our initial goal was to make one album. And when we did that, we had to make new goals. And we've been able to accomplish that for 23 of those albums now. I mean, after a while, we started thinking that because we were so successful for so many years consecutively, every album came out and sold 1 million. You start thinking that that's never going to stop.
While the band admits to taking their early success for granted, they eventually learned to savor life on the charts.
You have to take it sort of seriously in order for it to keep going. And that's really where the longevity comes from. We love it, but we work hard at it.
After 80s radio tagged them a ballad band, Chicago also worked hard at changing their sound, and that meant returning to their diverse musical roots.
You have to continue to evolve. If you just stay the same, you're stagnant. And if you're not digging it, they aren't going to dig it.
People always ask us, well, when are you going to stop? Well, who stops anything that they really enjoy and love?
In fact, the band has no intention of stopping. With a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, their own record label, more albums, and a busy tour schedule, Chicago continues to move through the 90s with renewed passion and commitment. That edgy, brassy energy that put them on the map.
I thought we'd have a one-hit record, and that would have been it. Time sure flies when you're having a good time.
Another 80s band still working in the 90s is Modern English. They're writing, touring, and just plain jamming. Want proof? They recently made a guest appearance on the television show Clueless, and they sang a National Burger King ad. Not bad.
Modern English first hit the music scene with their original brand of post-punk pop on their debut album, 1981's Mesh and Lace.
And when we started, we couldn't even play our instruments, you know. We just picked them up and started hitting them and things like that to make sounds out of them.
By their second album, After the Snow, Modern English had not only learnt to play their instruments, they also turned out their most popular hit, 1982's I Melt With You.
I really do believe the best songs come together in minutes. And Melt With You was like that. It was a song written in minutes.
Moving forward, using all my breath.
The first Melt With You video was cost like $1,500. It was so cheaply made. I think it was the second most played video on MTV in '83. So that's quite funny, getting a video on that cost that little money. When the explosion at that time was like really big videos, lots of money.
After their initial success in the 80s, Modern English released a string of critically successful albums. The 90s brought some changes to the Modern English camp, including a new version of I Melt With You, and some time off during which lead singer Robbie Gray, the only original member of the band, was hosting MTV Europe.
There's nothing you and I won't do.
The 90s also brought about several personnel changes, including newest guitarist Steve Walker, a veteran of many independent bands.
I think the whole thing about being in a band is once you've done it, and you've been there and you've done something good, you get sucked in, right, and you don't want to do anything else. You couldn't get a regular job. You know, you couldn't.
I tried that.
Yeah, it didn't work.
And 15 years after Modern English first hit the charts, the new band is currently writing, recording, and touring.
Teaching me a lesson.
I mean, most people do think that Modern English has been an 80s band. You know, and they're right in some ways, but they're wrong in a lot of others as well.
Timeless.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah. It's been great catching up with all these talented friends. I had a great time in the 80s. So did my parents. My mother had to get a passport so she could get on an airplane for the first time in her 50 years and come and see the band play at Madison Square Gardens in New York. It was quite an experience for all of us. But I'm doing my solo thing these days and running this studio here in Santa Monica, California. As the actress said to the bishop, I'd like to leave you now with a quick look at one of my latest songs. Goodbye.
You saw me standing by the road, corner of Main Street, and the lights are flashing on much fun, so you're looking for a thrill. And you know just what it takes, and